Among the bigger metros in the Midwest, Kansas City logs the most aggressive apartment construction pace by a sizable margin. How is that more substantial building activity impacting market performance fundamentals? We'll take a look at the Kansas City apartment sector on today's Apartment Market Dynamics. I'm Greg Willett. Cameron McIntosh is here as well.
Apartments under construction in the country's top 100 markets total about 537,000 units. Those additions will yield 3.5% inventory growth. But obviously, that amount of activity isn't distributed evenly. Markets in the South and the West regions account for the bulk of that building, while there's less construction in the Northeast and Midwest. Intuitively, Greg, that does make sense, as the Sunbelt metros of the South and the West are the country's leaders for job gains and population growth. But focusing in on those Midwest figures, properties currently under construction are set to expand the inventory by 2.4%. Slightly more robust building is found in a few spots. For example, Milwaukee, Columbus, and Indianapolis all grow at rates about in line with the U.S. norm. But we're really here to talk about Kansas City, Greg. The metro's projects on the way total 6,881 units. Those completions will push the existing product base by 4.7%.
The good news is that Kansas City's big block of additional product will be entering a market that's pretty healthy right now. I'd characterize today's performance metrics as coming in at the high end of the normal range for the market, not really off the charts, but about as strong as you tend to see in this marketplace.
In looking at that normal range of performance, in Kansas City, occupancy of about 95% is pretty much as good as it gets. That level of occupancy has been sustained for roughly the last year and a half. Specifically, today's rate is 95.4%. Furthermore, occupancy is essentially full in most spots where the bulk of the ongoing apartment construction is concentrated. Occupancy clocks in at 95.3% in central Kansas City submarket and around the 96% mark in the suburban Overland Park area.
The best annual rent growth rate you generally ever see in Kansas City is about 4%. So the current reading of 3.8%, that's right in line with the typical high. And in those active construction zones you were talking about, Cameron, annual rent growth is a hair under the metro norm in the urban core as well as the northern portion of Overland Park. For South Overland Park, rents are growing a little bit faster than the metro average.
Looking ahead, occupancy in Kansas City likely will ease a bit. That occupancy simply reflects more product moving through initial lease-up. However, the slip is expected to be mild, only about 50 basis points or so. Similarly, annual rent growth probably will slow, perhaps to around the 3% mark.
Those expected results still are decent, but I want to throw a further note of caution into the discussion. Bureau of Labor Statistics info shows that job growth in Kansas City is cooling off during the recent months. Today's numbers are okay. Annual additions totaling about 15,000 positions or 1.5% expansion. But that really doesn't leave much room for the economy's momentum to slow and still support the housing demand that's going to be needed in an area where there's lots of construction happening. We're hoping that our base case scenario in this particular metro isn't overly optimistic.
That wraps up our look at the Kansas City multifamily sector. I'm Cameron McIntosh. He's Greg Willett. Thanks for watching Apartment Market Dynamics.
Want more? Go deeper with MPF Research's apartment market reports. From a national level, down to individual metros, to specific neighborhoods, MPF Research has been providing unparalleled apartment market intelligence to the multifamily industry for almost 5 decades. Learn more by contacting us at 877-284-4938 or visit www.npfresearch.com and click on Market Reports.